What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Commander deck tech. This week we are doing Rune of the Hidden Realms. This is a blink deck. I really enjoy this deck. I mean, it's definitely a little convolute, not like it's definitely a little combo-y. A lot of not rushing to tapping and blinking stuff because you want to make sure you're blinking the right thing. But Vigilant Trample, 4/4, pay 2, tap it, exile another target creature. Return that creature to the battlefield under its owner's control during the end step. So, Roon, you can use it to tap your own stuff. You can use it to get rid of problems on your opponent's board. Yes, this is only a temporary fix per se, because like if we tap this to bounce one of their creatures, it's only to the end step, so it'll save you the damage that turn, but then next turn, at the end step, it'll re-enter the field. So then their next turn, they will be able to attack with it again. So if you keep Rune for that one thing, then that kind of ties up your commander. But there are other ways to blink stuff in the deck. So you could always save Rune for those risky kind of blocks or stuff like that. Or you can block with him on one of the smaller creatures and then tap him and blink one of the bigger creatures that are attacking. That's always an option. But let's jump into this, kicking it off with the creatures. We're gonna go over some of the other blinkers in this deck first, but like always, guys, this is from my play group. This is not CEDH. This is not like a beginner deck. This is my play group. I'm sure there's more optimal ways to play it. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you think, but this is the way we play it in my play group. So kicking it off, we have an Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, to double our ETB triggers. So we're running a lot of ETBs. So Elesh Norn will double those ETBs, which is good for us. Okay, and then we have other ways to blink stuff. A Flicker Wisp, we can, when it enters the battlefield, exile another target permanent. Now that doesn't have to be your permanent, and just another target permanent, and return it to the field at the beginning of the next end step. We have Abuelo, Ancestral Echo, Flying Ward. You can pay 3, exile another target creature or artifact you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the end step. So another way to blink, a little more expensive, but this one has Flying and Ward 2, as where Rune does not have Ward 2. We have a Niambi Esteemed Speaker. She has Flash. When she enters the battlefield, you may return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, gain life equal to that creature's converted mana cost. So this doesn't return it to the field, but if somebody board wipes, you can flash this in to bounce Rune and like to your hand to avoid the him being destroyed. Or you can bounce this in to bounce something back to your hand if you need to get away from a spell, a removal of some kind. A Thoughts of the Deep Dwelling. The end of your turn, you exile to one target creature you control and then return it to the battlefield. So it's blinks one thing a turn. We have an OG, the Exquisite Blade. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and scry 2. So that alone is pretty good. If you blink this a few times, you gain some life, you scry some cards. And then whenever you cast your second spell each turn, exile to one target creature you control and return it to the battlefield under your control. So another way to blink some stuff in the deck. And probably one of the best blinkers in the deck is Emil the Blessed. You pay 3, exile another target creature you control and return it to the battlefield under your control. Under its owner's control. So if someone steals your stuff, you can blink it and bring it back. And then when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a green or a white, put a +1/+1 counter on it. If it's a unicorn, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Definitely one of the better blinkers because it does it immediately, whereas a lot of them do it at the end step. So Emil's pretty great in that aspect. So those are our other ways to blink stuff and to double our ETB triggers. So the rest of the creatures in the deck, outside of 3 of them have ETB effects. So first we have a Kior's follower, because our commander does tap to use his ability. So then you can tap Kior's follower to untap our commander to do more shenanigans. Ornithopter of Paradise, Mana Dork, and a Maraleaf Pixie. Taps for some mana. Now you could run like, I don't know, Land of War Elves and Elvish Mystic and stuff, but I just didn't see the need for it currently in this build. Maybe in a future build, who knows. But for right now, we're only running 2 Mana Dorks, and it's been working out pretty good for me. Kicking off the ETB stuff, we have the ones that find lands. We have a Coiling Oracle. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, put the card into your hand. Core Cartographer. Search your library for a plains card, and it does not say basic plains, so any plains land you can find. A Farhaven Elf. When it ETBs, you search your deck for a basic land, and a Wood Elves to search for a forest card. Not a basic, any forest. Next, we have probably one of the ones that get blinked quite a lot in this deck, a Reclamation Sage. When Reclamation Sage enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment. This, you tend to get targeted with a lot of the enchantment stuff and the artifact hate, or the creature hate that are like artifacts or enchantments. So this definitely comes in handy. Diluvian Primordial. When you cast it, for each opponent, you can select an instant or sorcery in their graveyard and cast it without paying its mana cost. And then if it would go into the graveyard, you exile it instead. Tatiova Benthic Druid. Whenever a land enters, you gain a life, draw a card. Because we want to make sure we're getting through our deck to get to our ETB stuff and get to our things faster. So this helps that. Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. The legend rule does not apply, and when it ETBs, it becomes a copy of another target creature you control, except it has Sakashima's abilities, which her only ability, or his only ability, is the legend rule doesn't apply. My favorite card to blink in this deck definitely has to be Terastodon. Late game Terastodon, blink it a couple times, blow up a bunch of people's lands, and then board wipe all the elephants away. Always fun. You never know. We got a Foundation Breaker. Another way to destroy some artifact and enchantment hate. Priest of Ancient Lore. Another way to draw some cards, gain some life. Agent of Treachery. Because if you can't beat them, just take their stuff and beat them with their stuff. Makes sense to me. Progenitor Mimic. You can have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature on the battlefield, except it gains at the beginning of your upkeep. If the creature isn't a token, put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. So another way to use your opponent's stuff. Biblioplex Assistant. When it enters the battlefield, put up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. Another great card. Put our board waves back on top. Put whatever we want back on top. Prosperous Innkeeper. When it enters, make a treasure. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, gain a life. Because we're blinking our creatures, they enter the battlefield a lot. So another way to gain a bunch of life. Mystic Snake. Counterspell on a stick. Acidic Slime. Another way to destroy some artifacts, enchantments, or lands. I mean, I know people hate land destruction, but sometimes it's a necessary evil. You know, you gotta blow up the important lands, the Rogue's Passages, the the Inkmoth Nexuses, and next card is Muldrifter to draw some cards. Why not blink Muldrifter? And my favorite thing with this is you cast it for the evoke cost, and then you blink it. So then the sacrifice effect, sacrifice is on the stack, and then you blink Muldrifter, and then when it re-enters, that sacrifice effect is gone. So then you get to keep your Muldrifter. Anthem Mutineer, another way to get rid of some problem cards. Benzer, Shaper Savant, kind of a counterspell, or bounce some permanents away that you don't want to deal with, and it has flash. Yasharn, Impeccable Earth. When it enters battlefield, find a basic forest and a basic plains, put them in your hand. Players can't play life or sacrifice non-land permanents to cast spells or activate abilities. Yasharn alone shuts some decks down, which is always fun. Harbinger of Tides. When it enters battlefield, return target tapped creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand, so you can blink their attacking creatures. And a Reflector Mage, because slowing our opponent down is fun. And getting rid of problem creatures for 2 turns, 3 turns, and then they recast it and you just blink the Reflector Mage and keep it in their hand. Another great way. And if you can multiple blink Reflector Mage, then it can't do nothing for the whole turn, which I've had happen to me and I've done to some people once or twice. Next, we got some artifacts. We got a Simic Signet, a Commander Spear, an Azoria Signet, an Arcane Signet, and a Soul Ring for the mana rocks in the deck, because we just got to get our mana right. And then the last artifact in the deck is a Panharmonicon, another way to double our triggers. I believe with this and Mother of Machines on the board, it will trigger a 3rd time, so it gets your triggers going pretty fast. That's the artifacts in the deck. Enchantments, we're only running 2 enchantments. One of them is Reconnaissance Mission, just another way to draw some more cards. And Far Traveler, this one, I have mixed feelings about this one, but one game it came in pretty clutch. Commander creatures you control have at the beginning of your end step exile up to 1 target tap creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So it's another way to bounce stuff and blink stuff, but it has to be tapped. Now, it hasn't done as well as I would have liked, but it definitely has been 1 or 2 games where it came in clutch. So next we have our instants. Okay, we're running some Path to Exile, Counterspell, Holy Day to prevent all combat damage, Teferi's Time Twist to blink something, Long Road Home to blink something, Cloud Shift to blink something, because, you know, we're a blink deck. So we want more and more ways to blink our stuff. We got a Flicker of Fate to blink more stuff. Then we have some of the fun stuff. We got a Growth Spiral, draw a card, you can play additional land. Shared Summons, search your library for up to 2 creature cards with different names. Put them in your hand and then shuffle your library. Deliberate to scry and then draw some stuff. Brainstorm to draw some cards. Dovin's Veto to counter non-creature stuff for cheap. Return to Dust to destroy target artifact or enchantment. If you cast this on your main phase, you exile an additional one. A Crossing Grip and a Settle the Wreckage. All fun stuff to play. Next is the sorceries. For the sorceries in the deck, we're running Farseek, Cultivate, obviously we got to find our lands, and 3 visits, all to find our lands. We're running a Solve the Equation. Generally, you're finding a board wipe with this. There might be 1 or 2 times where you're not, but generally you're finding the board wipe. Or this card, Aminatu's Augury. This card puts in work. When you cast it, exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield until end of turn. For each non-land card type, you can cast a card from among them without paying its mana cost. So, this card is great, especially with the Bibliopex. You can put this back on top of your deck and cast it again. And then blink the Bibliopex and put it back on top of your deck and cast it again, which is always fun. Next one is Aether Helix. Return target permanent card to its owner's hand and return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. So any of your creatures, your ETB effects, anything you might need, put it back in your hand. Time wipe. Return target creature you control to its owner's hand and then destroy all creatures. And an Urza's Ruinous Blast. Now, this one. There's a reason I chose this board wipe over other board wipes. Now, I could be wrong for choosing this board wipe, but a lot of the time, people are running a lot of non-legendary stuff. In our case, we're running enough legendary creatures that I feel okay running this in the deck because we are running 10 legendary creatures in the deck and our commander, so 11 legendary creatures that won't be affected by this board wipe, and token decks get shut out by this. All the ones that run like lots of mana dorks and stuff. So one of my favorite legendary cards to play. So that is my Rune of the Hidden Realms, guys. Like always, the link to the deck list is in the description. I did skip the lands because it would just take too long for me to go through the lands. Let me know if you guys like this style of deck text. I mean, I've had fairly good responses. We're getting quite a bit of comments about people liking the decks. There's definitely some constructive criticism and some less constructive criticism from some comments, but that's bound to happen with the vast amount of different play styles and different types of decks out there in different play groups. But like I said at the beginning, this is for my specific play group, so if it doesn't really fit into your play group, just let me know down below. It's always fun to have that kind of discussion and that types of things. And I will see you guys in the next deck tech.